So we're recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of N.Cast. I am your host, Prince Ayo. Unfortunately, our co-host Brian, he is actually busy today. Something came up, so he can't join us today on this episode. But I do have a special guest here, and her name is Mariah.
Hello, everybody.
But she goes by, is it Carte Blanche? Am I saying that right?
Carte Blanche.
Carte Blanche. I keep messing it up, so that's my fault. Carte Blanche. Didn't mean to butcher your brand name. So
it's all good.
All good?
Yeah.
All right, special guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? How old are you? You know, all the generic stuff.
I'm from the DMV, Clinton, Maryland.
All right.
I
PG. Okay.
So, I grew up in Clinton, Maryland, and then I eventually went to nursing school and writing. You know?
Working and writing. I like how that goes together. Working and writing. I like it. Okay. So, how did you come up with this, I guess, brand name Carte Blanche? It fascinates me. We were talking about it off air, but I guess you could tell our audience how you came up with it.
Well, the actual way I came up with it is I was reading a book on ethics, and the word just popped out in one of the sentences, and I fell in love with it, and I looked it up and everything like that. Because sometimes words get me like that, like
it has like an impact.
Yeah.
It hits you differently. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I feel them, the energies and stuff.
So when you looked it up, what does it mean?
It's actually French in origin, and it means blank paper, but a lot of people interpret it to mean freedom to do and say as one desires. So I want to highlight the term freedom, and a lot of times, like throughout life, like I felt restricted in speech especially, and so like writing has been my outlet.
Express yourself.
Exactly.
It's like a form of art if you really think about it. I mean, technically it is. Yeah. It's a form of art. Like that's what's up. I like that. So what got you into writing? Or when did you start writing? Just give us your little brief history of what got you into writing and when you started writing.
I remember I started sometime like before I was 7 years old, because there's this poem that I wrote, and my mother, she found it, and like I guess it impacted her in some type of way, enough for her to go out and try to get it published for me. And she succeeded with that. She actually got the poem published in a local magazine, which I no longer remember the name of, but I'll never forget the fact that it was in that magazine, and I have a little cutout of it.
At least you have to cut out. So that's just like a little like piece that you can keep by your side. Sure, I would even scan it and upload it somewhere just so you can have it just in case you lose the cutout.
Exactly.
You never know, but that's pretty dope that your mom put in so much effort to like get your work published.
Yeah, I have so much respect for her in that regard. But then like after that, there was a period of time when like I didn't even like write at all. Like I kind of turned my back on it because I felt that like artistry was not a priority. Like when you're trying to focus on surviving and not so much like self-actualizing, then it's hard to focus on artistry. But
yeah, because you're trying to meet your needs, your basic needs.
Yeah, exactly. But those are the times that I feel that kind of breeds the art. Like you need those moments where you are just experiencing, and then you have those other moments like after the fact where you recreate those experiences in whatever form of art that you're inspired to do so. So
it gives you motivation. Like you're inspired through the hard work, and you can't create because you're trying to meet your needs, and then you just, I guess, write about it, right?
Exactly.
That's pretty dope. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. So what type of body of work do you like to do with writing? Do you just write, free write? Do you do poetry? Do you do books? Like what?
I've dabbled in a lot like, growing up, but it
Like, yeah, what's your niche, I guess, when it comes to like writing?
I would definitely say poetry. I love to play around with words and their sounds and like playing off of the way like one word sounds and like its meaning and.
You sound like a true wordsmith.
Yeah. Like shit.
Yeah, you sound like a true wordsmith right now.
Yeah, that's how I feel, yo.
Alright.
Like, cause I mean, honestly, like when I was a kid, I used to, I guess like pretend I was a rapper. My name was Rai Rizzle. I was so inspired by Snoop Dogg, right?
Okay.
I had my little composition notebook and I would write rhymes and stuff, but it never went anywhere. But like I think that was sort of like the foundation for like practicing rhyming and whatnot. And
so, were you influenced by the Snoop? that little like ad lib he would use in his music, or what?
It was Fishes on My Nizzle.
Okay, that's the one that inspired me.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Yeah.
The shizzle my nizzle. That's what sparked the
Yeah, right.
I got you. Right, Rizzle.
Yeah,
dropping her mixtape.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. So, since you got past your rhyming stage, do you perform your poetry anywhere, or does it like do you just keep it to yourself and then like?
I mean, a lot of it like I do keep to myself, but I have. Well, back in 2019, I challenged myself to do at least
back in 2019.
perform at least one poem at Busboys and Poets a month, and I was like successful in that.
Really?
I think I started in June, I believe, and the only one I missed was December.
And that's gonna work. I'm sure. Okay. Yeah.
But
So what would be your new goal? Will you continue this goal? Like
I was thinking about it, but like I need to just do it, honestly. Like I don't know what
just do it.
Discouraged me, but like
boom, just do it.
You know?
Yeah, just do it. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. But at least you've already done it before, so it's not like I mean you still don't get the butterflies every time you go to stage, but it's like you're more used to it, I guess. Like, it doesn't intensify. You just know it's there every time you go on stage. I feel like a lot of people who have like public speech, like problems, or they have problems with performing in front of people, including me. Like, practice makes perfect.
Definitely.
So like if you go out and put yourself out there the first time, fail, yeah, it's gonna suck. It feels like an eternity, but you keep doing it. You're obviously gonna get better and better to the point where you don't give a fuck anymore. You're gonna do what you gotta do, right? Like,
yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah. I need to go on one of your poetry. Like I've been wanting to see you perform. So we'll talk about that off air. But yeah. Right. I need to come check it out.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right, that's cool. So when we were talking off air too, you mentioned a book. You wanna go ahead and talk about that a little bit, just like.
All right, so.
Because I know you're still working on it, so I don't even know how to like put this question together. Like I don't want to just say what's your book about when you're still working on it. Like I guess just give us details about your book, I guess.
All right, so right now I have like a manuscript. It's my goal is to release it in a couple of different forms, but it's currently being edited right now. Just getting initial feelings, vibes about the flow, the content, all that stuff from a few people that I trust. Mm-hmm. But it's called Loose Leaf. It's basically a poetic memoir on discovering myself up until the age of 25. And that age is significant because I'm about to turn 25 in March, and that's kind of when I hope to like finish up the writing for that like part of my life. And the content like highlights different, I guess phases of my life, and how I've come to know myself, because I find like it's interesting, like with humans and stuff, like we're born, we don't know anything, we're just like born and like we know nothing, like we're just this blank slate, and we spend a lot of time getting to know a lot of other people but don't even know ourselves. And
that includes parents too. Like,
yeah.
parents like will try to like guide you the best they can if they're like, you know, decent parents. If they're parents that are going, I'm not gonna call them shit parents. If they're parents that are going through like their own problems and they're not in the best position to take care of you, then that's a messed up situation for that newborn baby. But like that's just a messed up situation altogether, and that happens. That's reality. But yeah, we are born with a blank slate, and a lot of people are acting like they know what they're doing, and really they're just trying to figure it out. They just have a little bit of age over us. Like they're just a big ass kid trying to figure it out with a little bit of structure in their life. Nobody really knows exactly what they're doing. We're just, yeah.
And that's why like one of my first goals in adulthood was to really like figure out who I am so that I can like use that to my advantage later in life, I guess. Like having a greater awareness of myself like would improve my interactions with other people and like be more realistic about like what I want to engage in and etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Like self-awareness is very important. I'm always a advocate for self-awareness. You know what you like, what you don't like, your strengths, your weaknesses. It just helps you get further in life without complaining so much. Because usually when you're complaining, it's because you feel empty inside because you don't really know what's going on. Like why you're complaining. You just know that you need to exert some type of like energy. It just happens to come out negative.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that you mentioned that because that's exactly how like when I'm experiencing some words that need to come out, like they just come out exactly like what you just said.
Yeah.
Like I just get that feeling, like all that stuff and just like use like my fucking hand. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
And it's just like direct the energy, like whether I'm typing, whether I'm writing, and then like I'll just like just go into like I just stop and then look at it and I'm like, yeah, like this is something like it's speaking to me after the fact. And
all you have to do is just like, you know, edit it, make sure the grammar is right, and then what you mean to say. Sometimes I'll write like my first draft, and then I'm just like, all right, this is all just shit that's in my head, right? And then I have to like structure it out, spread it apart, and I'm just like, okay. Like if I'm really like writing something like a paragraph for school or something like that, that's my mindset. I don't know how your writing process is, but I have to like write that first sheet and then go edit it and then go back at it again and just like, okay, yeah, I have something here. I just have to like tweak it more and more and more. You're always like tweaking it. It's never gonna be perfect, but once it's good enough, I'll send it to my teacher. But that was my writing process. And it wasn't supposed to be about me. I was just more so trying to like relate to like a writing process for Mariah.
No, like that's it.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Exactly.
And it's not linear, and that's the thing. Like there's time in between things. Like when you're writing and stuff, like it like the original experience that you start with could not necessarily be what you end with in the end because of like that editing process and stuff. Yeah. Like you might like start with an apple and then you just get the core, you know. Just the apple got ate.
It got ate all up. It got ate all. But going back to the book, is there any like information on the book that you'd like to share with our audience? Like what they could look forward to, or like what the book is about other than just like poetry in your life? Like I guess like just a little like bits piece. If it's not finished like that, you don't have to, but I'm just curious to be honest.
I mean, a lot of the things that the content and specifically it focuses on character flaws, like infidelity. It talks about, I guess, like passions, desires, interests,
hardships, I guess, what you've been through.
Like when you, or not so much like hardship, but like one section actually focuses on like, I guess, like love and infatuation. And
the difference, or like them,
like the initial reaction, and then like where that love and infatuation goes. There's a whole nother segment on that. And then it talks about, and then after that, it's just like miscellaneous things relative like to trauma and like how it's affected me. Who's Carte Blanche? It talks about that, and then like I guess my grand view
of
or like my macro view of life.
I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it. So, the first 25 years of your life,
yeah,
it's basically an autobiography in poetry. A book of rhymes. A book of rhymes. I feel it. Okay.
And my dad, like I told him, like I found it interesting when I told him that I was going to write a memoir of life, and he was like, yo, like, what do you have to say? You're just a baby. And my response to him was basically like, don't sleep on those baby years. A lot of that stuff like really affects you in adulthood, and you may not understand like the impact that it has unless you evaluate, analyze your like life in retrospect. So, and that's what a lot of this book has been for me, in helping me like work through like different mental health issues and stuff. So,
and I'm so glad you said that, because years of life, maybe my first trial of life, but I'm still observing, evaluating, and like noticing like people's adults who are older than me, at least I'm an adult, but like who are older than me, their mistakes, and I don't want to take that path, so I take a different path. And like if I can get on something like this, like a podcast, or write a book about it to teach the next generation, that always helps. Like you're a baby to them, but you're adults to people younger than you. So it's like you're kind of like the middle child, like how J. Cole said. Like you're a middle child, just like trying to figure out life and what you're observing about life. You know, so yeah, like I don't take those comments too seriously, especially the older you get. Like I'd rather be called a baby, because the minute I hit 30 and my back's really hurting, yeah, like that's not the move at all. So
yeah, like I
take it as a compliment now. Yeah.
No, I feel that. Like I take it as like a compliment. Like I take it lightly, because like I know like I got something like to prove you wrong. Like to like I want to like show people the value in something they don't see value in. Like that's a motivation for me.
As it should be. Yeah. It really should be. Like I feel like it's kind of weird, like for a lot of people, they need something that's like traumatizing for them to be motivated to what they want to do in life. It's either traumatizing or like just like a life-changing experience. You know, like I see someone who's just like went through some like abuse through their childhood, and they go through some hardships, and then the next thing you know, they're like the best-selling author or the UFC champion, fighter of the world, or you know, they just come out to be something great. Or someone who, and then life change. Okay, life change with having a kid. Like you ever notice certain adults, like you see them adults, and then or you see them, you grew up with them, for instance, you grew up with them, or you knew them from your childhood, you grew up with them, go to adulthood, and then when they have a child, you just see a different like person. I've seen that so many times with people, like they just turn into a different being, because they're not just living for themselves anymore, they're living for someone else. And I think that's incredible. It happens to a lot of people. A lot of people just either stay in that same mindset, but when you bring a child onto this planet, like it's not just about you anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're providing for something that you made. Like it came, like for me, it came out of my balls. You know what I mean? Like it came out of my balls, and now it's here, and I'm like, yo, this spinning image of me is here, and I have to feed it and take care of it. Otherwise, I'm a shitty human being. It puts you on like a standard of like, what do you want to be in life? You know, puts life into perspective. So like those two, the trauma and like life-changing events, like it really does push a lot of people. I just think it's so weird. Like why can't you just have like other self-motivation? I'm saying me too. Like I have my own traumas. That's why I'm doing what I did too. You know, I just think it's kind of odd.
I think that like when you experience trauma and change, it shatters your like view or like skim. What is it? I can't think of that word. Schema or.
Schema is in like
it's
brain?
like a psychological term.
I heard schema in psychology, but like I don't know the.
It like shatters your like understanding of the world and it forces you to go in like different like avenues to regain a better sense of like what's going on, and I think that's changing itself, like to change your
mindset. I mean, that comes with age and stuff like that, but like like I said, like the actual age of change, like a life-changing event or trauma, like what it does to people. Granted, it has broken a lot of people, which is very unfortunate, but the people who make it through that hump, it's so inspirational. And that's what I've been trying to tell you before we were even recording. Like, if people read your memoir, I think a lot of people will be inspired by it. And that's why I kind of wanted you to like talk about your book on the podcast. And I'm like, especially because what I know from your past experience, I think a lot of people can relate to it, you know? So it's just funny how like, not funny like haha, but like funny like weird, like we need something to kick our butt so we can like move forward in life, you know? Otherwise, at least in America, we're spoiled and we feel entitled, you know? Like there's so many people on this planet who would die to switch positions with us. You don't really take that into perspective. Yeah. And they probably have worse traumas and life change too, and they still made it and became great. And like I said before, they can also break, but still, like
that's deep.
Yeah. I didn't mean to get that deep. But like, no, it's just interesting. Like, just putting life in perspective like that. And we always have this type of conversation. Oh yeah. Side note: me and Mariah went to college together. That's where I met her. But yeah, no, we just kept the friendship going, and yeah, I just really was interested about this book and your writing because every time we hit each other up again, you always talk about it, and I just thought it was always interesting. So yeah, I'm just glad you were able to like express yourself on camera about it too. It's a big step. It's a big step.
This is my first time.
But yeah, let's go into the segue of last thoughts. So usually when I do last thoughts with Brian, we just give our last thoughts of the topic of the episode and what went on, and just our last like concluding thoughts of how we thought the episode went. So I'll start off as an example for you. I already went into it and like trying to get you on camera and being inspired by your writing and poetry, and that's like going to college together and being cool and stuff like that. Don't stop. Yeah, like you have a talent. I know nursing's your thing. I mean, you're good at that too. But if you have a passion like writing, and you can find a way to make a living off that, and just keep working on your passion, I'm always gonna have your back about that. Like I'm always gonna have your support for that. You know? Yeah. Cause like there's people who make like $500,000 out there like annually, and they hate their fucking job. They have a status of having like a wife and kids and stuff like that. Their wife hates the husband because he's a piece of shit. Not really a piece of shit. He's just being a piece of shit because he's taking shit from management. They're paying him $500,000 and stuff like that. And then the wife gets like the stress of him, right? And then the kids get the stress of the wife, and then it's just trickle effect. You know what I mean? But then there's people who are happy and they're making like a third of that. And they're traveling, they have a great family, and they're doing their passion. They're working their passion. Most times you're working in passion, you're working for yourself or you're a business owner because you like became an expert on your passion that you turned into a business. All right? So I think you have something here?
Yeah, like honestly, I'm just like inspired and like doing this podcast with you. I just really, it highlights the value in like surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like.
Your network is your net worth. So.
What's that?
Yeah. So I mean, it's not my saying. I'm not taking it, but yeah, yeah. But like that's the saying. That's how the saying goes. Your network is your net worth. So I mean, you want to surround yourself with around people who inspire you. You know. But that was my last thoughts. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, that was just my last thought. I'm inspired, you all. Thank you.
That's dope. That's dope. All right, so those are our last thoughts. I guess I'll do the social media plugins. I'll start off again just so you can have the example. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's at p._nigma. If you want to follow our podcast on Instagram, that's at n_cast_. There you go. And if you want to follow our Twitter account that we just made, it is, mine personally is at Nigma Prince, NIGMAPRINCE. And then our podcast Instagram is at N.Cast_podcast. And my TikTok is at Nigma TV. Yeah. What's your plugin?
All right, so I'm currently still working on building my platforms, but
you still have Instagram and stuff, right?
Yeah, I still have Instagram. It's just like not under my alias.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it. I mean, I gave my personal brand. I mean, my personal Instagram and podcast Instagram, so you can do the same if you want.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're interested, then my personal Instagram account is IAM_RYE, and then I'm also on Facebook as under Carte Blanche. Should I spell that?
Yeah, if you want. I think it helps audience members, especially because they're listening. That is, because even though we have a visual, this is also a podcast.
Yeah.
So like they can't see what we're doing if they're listening too. So.
All right. Well, it's spelled CARTE. That's the first word, and then the second word is BLANCHE. And that's me.
Yeah,
Carte
Blanche. I like it. Yeah. Hey, we have like a traditional like outing. Like Brian usually says he's learning Korean. I might have to just like plug it in or something. I don't know, but I'm not gonna say because I'm not learning Korean, so I'm just gonna sign off. But before I sign off, any last words?
No, I'm good.
Well, I'm just glad to have you here, Mariah.
Thank
and
you.
Until next time, peace.
All right then.
Work-life balance. So many molds forced upon me. Why can't I just be? Sitting in an office filled with 3 bodies, doing everything but their hobby. 2 against 1 set out to rob me of everything that makes me me. Hey there, individual. Please remove your individual. Just be in this mold and forget your residual. And I cry, you've got to be kidding though. But this is no joke, for we are not kids. All jokes aside, this is about biz. So fake it until you make it. Be who you are not to please the one on top. Well, adults, such pretending is no longer fun. Don't get me wrong, I'm pro-imagination, but you removing Ima from Janation is dumb. All the while expecting me to come with a smile when I'm so unhappy I don't even want to come. After striving to be a body, just to learn your glass ceiling only supports some. Thus I'm merely a slave to obligation, losing myself to get by in this nation, trying to write a story you're steady erasing, by asking me to fit in by faking. And frankly, sitting underneath this ceiling has me feeling cornered, pondering the irony of me in youth, dreaming to fast forward, as aging became a nightmare to move onward.